You've got cancer, the words that no one ever wants to hear. And too often we put our lives in the hands of the medical system and assume that's our only course of action when it comes to treatment. But is it really? On this episode of Your Best Life, I'll share with you how we did just that, but I also did my due diligence in educating myself so I could be my husband's best advocate and how I ended up saving his life. Stay tuned. Welcome to another episode of Your Best Life. I'm your host and healthy living correspondent, Beth Schomp. This episode is part 2 of a 3-part series, our journey in the fight against pancreatic cancer. Pancreatic cancer is one of the most dangerous types of cancer because it's fast moving and there's no method of early detection. In fact, it's one of the fastest growing cancers. So when we received that diagnosis for stage 2 pancreatic cancer, I knew we had to move fast. 2 weeks later, Russ had a distal pancreatectomy, and that's where they removed a large portion of his pancreas and all of his spleen. But we were blessed that we didn't have to have the Whipple procedure. It is a much more extensive procedure. Our surgery was a success. They removed the tumor, and it hadn't spread at all. Yet the surgeon told us that we still had to have chemotherapy. That didn't make any sense to me. The doctor told me that there was a 70% chance of recurrence within 5 years. So I looked at him and simply told him that Russ would be in the 30%. Somebody had to be there, so why not him? The doctor's assumption was that there might be some rogue cancer cell out there, so this chemo was prescribed as a just-in-case strategy. But something didn't sit right with me. Why did Russ get cancer in the first place? You see, if you don't get to the root cause, it seems to me that that's the reason for recurrence. We had to get to the root cause, but in the meantime, we were compliant and we made an appointment with an oncologist to review a treatment plan. In the meantime, I reached out to as many people as I could to ask about their journeys with cancer. What worked? What didn't work? And in the process, I had a big aha moment. Russ's immune system was clearly broken. If we didn't address that, the cancer would surely return. And why was his immune system broken? Well, one really can't know that for sure, but what I can tell you is this. Russ had dropped the ball regarding his own nutrition. You know, sometimes you can't be a prophet in your own land, and he really wasn't listening to me about eating fruits and vegetables and about taking our supplements. Plus, he ate ice cream literally every day. And here's an interesting observation about that. Prior to the diagnosis, every physical showed Russ's cholesterol, his blood pressure, his triglycerides, his blood sugars, all are in the normal levels. So the assumption is his body can handle it. But regardless of blood work, an unhealthy habit is simply that, unhealthy. We had 6 weeks in between surgery and starting chemo, so we buckled down. The surgeon wanted Russ to drink Ensure, but I read the labels. The number 1 ingredient is corn maltodextrin, and that has a higher glycemic index value than table sugar. Researchers at the Cleveland Clinic have found that this harmful ingredient alters gut bacteria, and that can lead to inflammatory bowel disease. We needed to decrease his inflammation, not add to it. So instead, to help him gain weight, he drank protein shakes that had 30 grams of protein and no sugar. He could not eat a lot, so we started juicing every day. I'll put the link to my juicing video in the content below, and you'll be able to even see Russ while he was still recovering. Russ also started taking critical supplements to feed his body in ways that food simply couldn't. In our consult with the oncologist, he reviewed all the supplements that Russ was on, and he chipped away at the list, removing this supplement and that, and I questioned him, why can't he be on this one? And in listening to his answers, I realized 2 things. 1, he knew nothing about nutrition. Doctors only have 3 hours worth of nutrition training when they go to med school. And the insurance industry does not reward them for offering more natural alternatives. And number 2, chemo is a business. His recommendation was nothing more than a sales pitch. I had done my homework ahead of time. You see, different cancers require different chemo recipes, if you will. And for pancreatic cancer, there are 2 types of chemo. The gold standard, fluorouracil, or 5-FU, and gemcitabine. I knew how aggressive 5-FU was, so I wanted gemcitabine, especially since this was a just-in-case scenario. But the doctor refused. He said that the only option we had was the 5-FU, so we acquiesced. Nutritionally, Russ took all of his supplements, his juice, his protein shakes as he started the first of what was supposed to be 12 chemo treatments. But after the 4th treatment, I knew my husband was dying. His skin was literally gray. He couldn't keep anything in. You see, chemo doesn't just kill cancer, it kills everything in its path. And it was killing my husband, so I had to intervene. I wanted to meet with the oncologist before the next treatment, but I was refused the appointment. But I didn't take no for an answer. And in that appointment, the doctor acknowledged that they were worried about Russ because he was down to 130 pounds. If you lose too much weight, your organs can shut down. So the doctor said they were considering doing a blood test. And this blood test would show if Russ could metabolize the chemo in the first place. I couldn't believe my ears. When I asked, shouldn't we have done this first? He said, well, it's just not something we normally do. It's not covered by insurance. That $500 test showed that my husband was in a 5% category that does not metabolize the chemo. It literally was killing him. So now the doctor gave me a choice to either reduce the dosage of that toxin or to change to gemcitabine. We did neither. Thank you so much for watching part 2 of a 3-part series of our cancer journey. I would be so honored if you would like this video, subscribe to the channel, but also feel free to share this video with someone who may be facing a cancer diagnosis. I want people to benefit from what we've learned. As always, you can reach me at yourbestlife9@gmail.com. Join us in part 3 of our Cancer Journey series, where you'll learn key steps we took as we chose to heal my husband's cancer. Be happy and be healthy.